And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Aquaba, and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Rights Report here on LIB Radio, the Conscious Rights. Means you and I get together live. We come at your time, 5 p.m. GMT and 8 p.m. East Africa time. We get together with you and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives. We deal with religion studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Friday. It is the 5th day of December, the year 2025 in the Western calendar, the Gregorian calendar. This corresponds to the year 6266 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we have realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family. You have found your family in a peaceful place on LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. Let me tell you what we have on track for today. I think this is going to be a very informative program. And to my sister, Shingai, I have not forgotten about your discussion. In fact, I have prepared it. It's going to be powerful. I'm going to be bringing that up on Monday, where we're going to talk about the prevalence of fake fingernails, false eyelashes, and synthetic hair across our community. And I can assure you, it's far worse than what we have been able to imagine. So that's going to be coming up on that on Monday. I can't wait to get into that topic. It's going to be a very important topic. For today, it's Making Money Fridays. And today we're going to talk about holiday shopping. I repeat from last year and from so many times, what are we going to do about Christmas? For real, for real. What are we going to do about Christmas? Let me give you the introduction to today's program, if you would, please. Today on Making Money Fridays, we're diving deep into the powerful economic force of Afri-Amer holiday spending. Current data reveals a significant trend. By the end of 2025, African Americans are projected to spend an astonishing $1.93 trillion in annual consumption. Yet our collective GDP production stands at most as $212 billion annually, meaning we produce a mere 10.9% of what our businesses, or we produce a mere 10.9% of what our people consume. Imagine the transformative impact if we could reverse all of this. If we could reverse all of this status and redirect that immense purchasing power within our global communities, imagine what could truly happen. So we're going to do the best we can to dive deep into this topic today. I hope you find this to be compelling, to be fascinating. Let me get myself straightened out over here. The current annual consumption for African Americans in the U.S. is projected to reach approximately $1.98 trillion by the end of 2025, with expectations of growth between 2.5 trillion and 3 trillion by 2030. This figure reflects the increasing economic influence of the Black community, driven by population growth, higher education levels, and greater access to higher paying jobs and entrepreneurship opportunities. But wait a minute, that's all. It's not necessarily central to our discussion. Because while some people are definitely getting better, households getting better, the overwhelming majority of our people in the United States, in the UK, are moving backwards. Are moving backwards. So if we add in consumption to African immigrants to our people in this planet, in 2015, African immigrants spending annually was estimated to be slightly over 40.3 billion dollars in the US based on their earnings and tax contributions. It's changing very rapidly. The immigrants living amongst us are doing much better now. And even to get into the United States as a permanent resident, they got to come in with a whole lot more money and resources than what we have. Let's talk about this. I have a piece of video I've queued up. I'm going to add this to the stage, and we're going to watch this short piece of video. It's only going to take just a couple of minutes. I'm only going to play it through one time. So everybody, please do listen carefully. I will put the link up for those who want to have access to this. That link will be up on various websites.
Us as the regular consumer, what he's saying is we have, and we talk about this all the time, how black and brown people spend our money.
Yes.
We spend so much money that they don't want to lose us as consumers and us to become investors, because then we can tell them what to do.
Yeah, and then we run the culture. We buy all the products. We make every brand hot. I can argue without Twitter, without the black and brown community, Twitter would be nothing. I've been having a bunch of conversations and meetings with Meta. Without us, company's no good. So I want us to shift from being consumers of the brand to owning, because that's the only path to wealth.
Us as the regular consumer, what he's saying is we have, and we talk about this all the time, how black and brown people spend our money.
And how black and brown people spend our money. And it's not a matter of black and brown. It's a matter of African Americans and Afro-Latinos. Let's be clear about this black and brown commentary. Afro-Latinos are African people and they are brown people. There are European Latinos. They call them white Hispanics. And while not excluding these people from every aspect of human development, because they are people, and many of them very beautiful, many progressives among the white population, for our analysis, we are isolating Afri-Amers and African Latinos for our analysis today. And we welcome each and every one of you to participate in the analysis. Oh, also, for those of you who are in your brother's camp and following along, yesterday I set a new lifetime record for my push-ups. I do my push-ups ritually every day. I try to do it every day. Maybe one day every 2 weeks I'll miss a day or miss a set or two. But I do my push-ups righteously every day. And yesterday I set a new lifetime record. In one set, single set, no stop, no pause, no break, I did 465 push-ups, breaking my previous record by 15. So I hope you are proud of your brother. I'm doing the best I can to show by living example what we can do. Today, we're talking about redirecting our spending, consumption spending, redirecting it into investment spending. That's a very important subject, a very important topic. Let's go right into it. And here we go. Here's my research I have up for today. And I welcome all of you. Do sign in if you're with us today. We'd love to hear from you. What are we going to do with Christmas? Current data reveals that by the end of 2025, African Americans are projected to spend an astonishing $1.93 trillion on consumption. Yet our collective GDP production stands at just 212 billion, meaning that we buy 10 times more than we produce. We buy 10 times more than what we produce. Imagine the transformative impact if we could reverse this status and redirect that immense purchasing power to investments within our communities. What could truly happen? This disparity between the substantial spending power and the comparatively lower production within our African or Afri-Amer community highlights both a critical economic challenge and a monumental opportunity for internal growth and empowerment. If this immense purchasing power, which is nearly $2 trillion, were to be intentionally and strategically reinvested into businesses, services, and enterprises owned and operated within the community, the entire economic landscape could be fundamentally reshaped, reborn, rebirthed. Reversing the status of buying nearly 10 times more than is produced would necessitate a significant and deliberate shift towards fostering internal wealth creation, promoting entrepreneurship, and ensuring that capital circulates more effectively within the community's own global ecosystem. This redirection of economic energy would lay the foundation, the groundwork for a more sufficient and prosperous future. And again, this is a global challenge. The potential customers of such a reversal are vast and could lead to profound societal improvements. Firstly, a greater emphasis on producing goods and services internally would inevitably lead to the creation of a multitude of new jobs directly within Afri-Amer communities. These jobs would not only provide essential income for families, but also foster crucial skills development, encourage innovation, and open pathways for new entrepreneurial ventures, thereby strengthening the foundational systems, the foundational economic base, I might say, of these areas. Secondly, an increase in local production coupled with a commitment to local spending would generate significantly more tax revenue for local governments. This increased revenue could then be strategically allocated to improve vital public services, including enhancing educational institutions, upgrading critical infrastructure, and expanding access to quality health care within these communities, creating a powerful, virtuous cycle, I might say, of economic development and community betterment. There's so much we should do. And there's just no excuse at all. I'm just over here double checking to see if I have a listening audience on you now. We welcome you all into the conversation. We welcome you on YouTube. Would love to hear from you. If you are in the house on YouTube, please do hit the like button. Give us a like. Let us know that you love what we are doing here on YouTube as well. Just view this on YouTube, and bear with me. It's going to take a second to turn this sound off. It's going to pop up in my ear. Okay, we have you up. We'd love to see everyone in all of our different families. Just log in. We'd love to have you with us. This is your LIB Radio. And that is not going to work there. 1 second. Let me copy cut and paste. Now this is the video I showed you was called the Uncovering the Shocking Truth, Consumerism versus Ownership for Black and Brown Wealth. And of course, Black and Brown means to us, it means Afro Latinos along with African Americans. So that link is up for those of you who are consuming there. For those of you in our Rumble family, I did put up the link a little bit earlier, but let me put it up one more time in case somebody just came in. So let's talk further on this. We talked about the potential outcomes of such a reversal are vast and could lead to profound societal improvements. I read that already. Furthermore, by consciously prioritizing internal investment and fostering local production, the community could build a stronger foundation for financial resilience and the accumulation of intergenerational wealth. This goes beyond simply reducing external spending. It involves actively nurturing and supporting businesses that ensure capital remains within the community, multiplying its impact. It means cultivating an environment where entrepreneurs can flourish, where innovative ideas are encouraged, and where financial literacy is recognized as an indispensable tool for progress. Financial literacy recognized as an indispensable tool for progress. Understanding how to effectively manage, save, and grow wealth is absolutely crucial for achieving long-term economic stability and ensuring sustained prosperity across generations. As an example, we have NFL star Odell Beckham Jr. He's a phenomenal player. He has openly discussed the financial struggles associated with his substantial 5-year, $100 million contract, underscoring the vital importance of financial literacy and meticulous planning for building generational wealth, especially considering the often short career spans in professional sports. His personal experience highlights a broader, universal need for robust and sustainable wealth management strategies that can benefit all members of the community. Odell Beckham Jr. shared the financial problems he faces with his 5-year, $100 million NFL contract. And he has generational wealth challenges due to taxes and lifestyle choices. That lifestyle choices is a lot of it, but we all have to realize taxes have a lot to do with it as well. His case emphasizes the importance of financial literacy and planning, noting that many athletes face financial instability after a short career. Beckham Jr. has been selling valuable NFL memorabilia as a response to his financial difficulties, underscoring the need for sustainable wealth management. This paradigm shift would also significantly enhance the political and social empowerment of these communities. Economic strength frequently translates into a greater influence and a stronger voice for advocacy, enabling more effective addressing of systemic inequities and the promotion of equitable policies that truly serve the community's best interests. It would foster a profound sense of collective responsibility, pride, and self-determination as the community actively takes charge of its own economic destiny. This initiative is not merely about redirecting holiday spending for a single season. It's about cultivating long-term mindset of economic self-sufficiency, strategic investment, and community-centric growth that yields lasting benefits for everyone, all Africans all around the planet. by consciously choosing to support local Afri-Amer owned businesses and actively investing in community-based ventures, the Afri-Amer community can unlock its full economic potential, establishing a powerful legacy of sustained prosperity and stability for current and future generations. 1 second here. Let's go further. I'm going to be repeating this a few times so you will have it in your head as well, as you can go out and do the work that you, my listeners, are committed to. And that is entertaining as you educate our people about our ultimate potential. So I went to another AI search and I asked the same questions, and DuckDuckGo gave me the following: current annual consumption for Afri-Americans and foreign-born Africans in the U.S. Afri-Americans consumption, the annual consumption power of Africans in America, is approximately $1.98, it says, trillion as of 2025. The other ones said 1.93, but it is a range. This represents a significant increase from previous years, showcasing both population growth and rising income levels within the community. A notable trend is the increase in African American households with incomes of $100,000 or more, which has risen by 83% over the past decade. Their spending is driven by various sectors, especially in beauty, lifestyle products, and media consumption. It didn't talk about investment spending. It talked about their consumption spending. And $100,000 today is equivalent probably to about $60,000 or so 2 decades ago. So have to put this into context. Foreign-born Africans' consumption. While specific annual consumption figures for foreign-born Africans in the U.S. are less frequently reported, several studies suggest that their purchasing power is growing substantially. The total spending capacity of all Africans in the U.S., excluding Afro-Latinos, including both African Americans and foreign-born Africans, is estimated to approach about $4 trillion annually, with a significant share attributable to the immigrant population. Now, that was estimated to be in 2015 $40 billion. And now they're talking about adding the two together, brings us approaching $4 trillion annually. Wow. Key comparisons: African Americans, 1.98 trillion in consumption, increased income diversity. Foreign-born Africans, estimated slightly less than 4 trillion when combined with Afri-Americans. Both Afri-Americans and foreign-born Africans represent crucial segments of the U.S. economy with considerable consumer power. The growth, and I have a problem with this term consumer power because it's not empowering. It is consumer spending. It is consumption patterns. But it doesn't give us power. We spend this money, but do we have control over Walmart, which gets a large share of that money? Do we have control over Costco or Target? What type of infrastructure for delivering food to our people does this consumer power give us? It doesn't give us any. And so we're going to be very cautious about whenever we hear this term consumer power, because it's not. It's not. So I'll repeat, now we're looking at Christmas. Let me give you this again. The true growth in these demographics reflects a broader changes in societal factors, including economic mobility and demographic shifts. As our groups continue to evolve, our consumption patterns will likely influence various industries and market strategies. The total U.S. holiday retail sales forecast for November through December 2025 is expected to surpass $1 trillion, with estimates ranging from about 1.01 trillion to 1.05 trillion, according to multiple reports, including the National Retail Federation and Forrester Research. Afri-Amers account for approximately 12 to 13% of total U.S. consumer spending, from $120 billion to $130 billion. And Afro-Latino households account for about 12% of the Hispanic group, an estimated $146 billion of U.S. holiday consumer spending. So the Hispanics as a whole are estimated to spend $146 billion during this 2-month holiday season. 12% of the Hispanic group are Afro-Latinos. So it would be 12% times $146 billion added to $120 billion for black people to 130. So from December 1st to December 31st, Afri-Amers and Afro-Latinos combined holiday spending, retail spending, is approximately $146 billion. That's combining the two groups. From late October through January 15, it's an 80-day holiday shopping period, as opposed to the 61 days of November and December. So for this 80-day period, estimated spending about $152.25 billion. Now, this is a substantial increase over my numbers for last year. A very substantial increase, a very, very substantial increase. And it's not because we made more money last year. No, it's because my ability to put these numbers together and clarify them improves with each year. Estimated spending from late October through January 15, $152.25 billion. This period from October 25 through January 15, which covers the extended holiday shopping season, is estimated to account for roughly 19% of total annual retail sales in the United States. This broader holiday shopping season, including October, November, December, and into mid-January, sees a significant concentration of consumer spending compared to the rest of the year. Retail sales, specifically from November through December alone, typically represent around 20% of total annual retail spending. And adding late October and early January shopping shifts that slightly, but keeps it within a similar range of 19 to 20% of annual consumption. 19.5% of $1.93 trillion is approximately $376.35 billion. Let that sink in. The numbers increase very dramatically. $376.35 billion. That's a lot. That's just Afri-Amers and Afri-Latinos. Black-owned businesses annually contribute between $207 billion and $212 billion to U.S. global domestic gross domestic product. Let me repeat. Black-owned businesses annually contribute between $207 and $212 billion to U.S. GDP. Black-owned businesses contribute approximately $207 to $212 annually in revenue in the U.S. economy. While exact GDP contribution numbers are not always directly specified, this revenue represents a significant share of economic activity. These businesses support over 1.3 million jobs and pay over $61 billion in salaries, reflecting their substantial role in national economic output. Despite their growing impact, Black-owned businesses still represent a similar share of total U.S. GDP compared to their population share, with efforts ongoing to increase their economic contribution through growth and parity initiatives. We gotta produce, not just spend. We gotta produce. Much of the money we're spending on these holidays, the 1.93, much of that is debt. And that's also contributing to other people's profits. They have surplus money. And they will lend that surplus money to us. They're very happy to lend it to us. Even if we have high default rates, they're still going to offer us credit cards because they make so much money off of it before we default. And then they make it after we default. It's a win-win-win situation when you treat us like we're merely consumers. Total annual consumption expenditure for Black or African American households in the United States was $58,167 on average in 2023. And that figure hasn't changed very much in years, which translates to approximately 1.6 trillion in total spending when multiplied by the estimated 27.5 million Black households. This is for 2023. This figure aligns with the projected buying power of Afri-Amers reaching 1.98 trillion by the end of 2025. In contrast, foreign-born Africans, specifically sub-Saharan African immigrants, contributed an estimated 40.3 billion in spending power in 2015, based on their earnings and tax statements. While the specific annual consumption for foreign-born Africans has been less frequently reported, this is repeating from earlier, several studies suggest that their purchasing power is growing substantially. The total spending capacity of all Africans in the U.S., including both Afri-Amers and foreign-born Africans, is estimated to approach around $4 trillion annually. This came from another AI search, with a significant share attributable to the immigrant population. Let's talk about Afri-Amer households. Afri-Amer households devote the largest shares of their annual budgets to housing, transportation, food, insurance, and pensions, and health care. 5 key categories of spending. With reading material, what I do, representing a very small fraction of total spending. Spending on books and other reading materials is typically well under 1% of total expenditures for Black households. If you consider the other 5 categories, we're spending close to half of our consumption, just on housing, transportation, and food. We'll break the numbers down. African Americans represent a multi-trillion-dollar economic force in the United States with large impacts as consumers, workers, and business owners. Below are 10 concise, data-driven facts that sketch the current Afri-Amer economy. Numbers are rounded for clarity. Again, overall consumer spending power. Recent marketing and economic analyses place black consumer spending at roughly $1.2 to $1.7 trillion per year, reflecting strong growth over the past decade. And again, that 1.98 figure that they've been giving is through the end of this year. This spending is highly concentrated in key categories like beauty, personal care, food, and media entertainment, where black consumers often purchase at higher rates than the general population. Point 2, average annual household spending. The Federal Reserve consumer expenditure data show that black or African American households now average around $58,000 per year in total household expenditures, estimate from 2023. This figure is rising steadily from under $48,000 in 2019, indicating both inflation and increased nominal spending capacity in black households. Now, category number 3, black-owned employer firms. The latest census-based estimates report around 194,585 black or Afri-Amer owned employer firms in the United States. And these are firms with at least one paid employee. These firms generate roughly $212 billion in annual receipts, making them a significant, though still underrepresented, share of the overall U.S. business landscape. Number 4, black-owned non-employer businesses. In addition to employer firms, there are about 4.13 million black-owned non-employer businesses, meaning they're solopreneurs, contractors, micro businesses, but they have no employees. These non-employer firms produce nearly $110 billion in receipts, showing the breadth of solo and micro enterprise activity in the black community. And in Africa, that would probably be categorized as the non-formal economy. Number 5, black businesses, payroll, and jobs. Black-owned employer firms pay around $61.2 billion in annual payroll to their workers, a direct measure of their contribution to household incomes. These firms employ around 1.6 million workers, making black businesses an important employer, especially in sectors like healthcare and social assistance. But if I can pull from last year, when we talked about payroll and what black businesses contributed to payroll when weighed against the general population of the United States, black businesses accounted for maybe 12 or so percent of all businesses, but in payroll accounted for 0.42%. Less than 0.5% of the total payroll in the United States. So this is sad. Point 6, sector concentration of black businesses. Roughly 1/4 of black-owned employer firms operate in healthcare and social assistance, including home health agencies, clinics, and social service providers. Other community sectors include professional services, transportation, and personal care, reflecting both community service needs and relatively low barriers to entry. Contribution to U.S. business revenue. It talked about black-owned firms against all firms in the United States. Share of employee firms, around 2 to 3% of classified firms in the U.S. are black, while for the nation, it's weighed against 2 to 3% of against 100% will be everyone, all ethnicities. Annual receipts, apparently as much as $212 billion, as opposed to weighing against the U.S. $19.5 trillion for all classifiable firms. Those are receipts. That's actual productivity, GDP. The share of these receipts, about 1 to 1.5% of the total receipts are for black-owned businesses, while for the U.S., 100%. While black-owned firms still account for a modest share of total U.S. business revenue, their growth rates in number, revenue, and payroll have recently outpaced overall U.S. business average. Now, when you're starting at such a low framework, yeah, it is outpacing the growth, but that doesn't mean much when you're talking about 1 to 1.5% versus 100%. Number 8, median income of black households. Recent American Community Survey-based estimates put non-Hispanic black median household income at around $53,000 to $57,000 per year, depending on the exact year and the methodology of calculation. So that's right around that number of 58,000 that we had from the other search. This remains well below the overall U.S. median, roughly $80,000 range, highlighting a persistent racial income gap, even as black incomes have risen over the past decade. Number 9, poverty and unemployment context. Around 16 to 17% of non-Hispanic black families live in poverty, roughly double the rate for all U.S. families. The unemployment rate for black adults is also higher than the overall U.S. rate, around 7.8% versus 4.6% in recent data, which directly constrains aggregate income and spending in the black community. And lastly, category market moving influence. And I didn't even put that in there because what our consumer patterns and business patterns have on the effect of the U.S. markets is inconsequential. I don't know why there's no more here. I do know why, because what it said was irrelevant, and I just took it out. Anybody in the house? Or do I have any listeners today? I see one person hit the like button. That was me. And it's sad. This is really hurting. And no one is listening. No one's interested. Which means the only ones probably listening are my enemies, hoping I'll say something that will put them in a position to take me down as a voice, or somehow give them an advantage, another issue of controlling us, overlord over us in a way that they had not yet thought about. The impact of the COVID pandemic on the black economy. Black-owned businesses in the United States face severe disruptions from the COVID-19 pandemic between January and June 2020. Just 1 year, a 6-month period. primarily due to shutdown orders, limited access to relief funds, and pre-existing financial vulnerabilities, resulting in a 41% drop in their overall count by mid-April. 41% drop across less than 6 months. That was just from January to April. That's what, 3 months? 41% drop in black-owned businesses. Business closures from early February to mid-April. That's 2 months. Over 440,000 black-owned businesses, around 41% of the total of over 1 million at the start, permanently shuttered, compared to just 17% of white-owned businesses. By May, non-operating black businesses stood at over 280,000, still 26% below February levels, marking the largest decline among major racial groups. COVID pandemic and the black economy, access to relief. Black-owned firms applied for federal aid, like the Paycheck Protection Program, loans at higher rates, over 50%. But only 20.3% received the full amount versus 63.7% for white-owned businesses. 95% were effectively shut out early on. Private funding approvals were also lower. Only 22.3% of new loan requests from black owners succeeded, compared to 54.2% for white owners. You understand? Seeking parity within the United States, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So therefore, we've got to come up with a better plan that excludes the exclusion of us in the United States economy. I'm going to keep reading. COVID-19 and the black economy, financial and overall operational strain. Average business earnings for black owners fell 11 to 14% more than for white owners due to the pandemic effects exacerbated by thinner profit margins. Low cash reserves, a 26% drop by March, lower cash reserves, and reliance on personal funds amid wealth gaps. Remote work mandates hit 45.2% of black businesses hard versus 25.1% white-owned, and 39.1% of owners reported family and personal COVID infections disrupting operations. Sector impacts. Industries with high black ownership concentrations suffered the most. Accommodations, hotels, negative 35%. Food, services, and restaurants, minus 22%. Construction, down 27%. Professional services, down 18%. And health services, down 16%. Micro enterprises, 95% of black firms had no paid employees, were especially vulnerable to lost revenue from non-essential shutdowns. In the broader context, pre-pandemic growth, 23% revenue growth, 24% employee increases from 2012 to 2018 reversed sharply. Profitability plunged from 32% to 12.2% in the first quarter of 2020, with non-profitable firms rising to 48.7%. These closures threaten long-term wealth and savings in black communities, highlighting structural barriers like credit access disparities. The 2020 COVID-19 closures of black-owned businesses inflicted lasting wealth damage on African American communities, exacerbating racial wealth gaps through lost business equity, earnings reductions, depleted savings, and hindered intergenerational transfers. In earnings and income losses. Black businesses saw earnings drop 12 to 14% more than white owners in 2020, with profitability plunging from 32% pre-pandemic to 12.2% in the first quarter, leading to substantial annual income shortfalls that compounded poverty rates. Cash reserves fell 26% by March versus 12% overall, forcing reliance on personal funds amid pre-existing wealth disparities, which delayed recovery and increased debt burdens. Business survival and wealth mobility. The 41% closure rate over 440,000 firms by April reversed prior growth, with young black solopreneurs closing fastest, 22% after 1 year, versus 13% for white firms closing after 1 year, driving downward wealth mobility and limiting business assets as key wealth building tools. Net declines persisted into June in most states, eroding the employer firm base critical for community jobs and revenue circulation. Community and generational effects. Closures acted as cultural and economic anchors. Loss, reducing local investment, employment stability, and neighborhood growth in high concentration areas, mirroring historical destructions like Tulsa's Greenwood discriminatory relief, like Tulsa's Greenwood. That was Black Wall Street. Discriminatory relief access. Example given the Payroll Protection Act, reaching less than 20% of eligible black firms. Entrenched funding gaps, projecting long-term inequality in savings, credit, and business restarts. This is exhausting, but we're almost there. Black economic scars. These setbacks explain much of the persistent U.S. racial wealth gap, as lower black business ownership historically correlates with disparities. Pandemic losses deepened this cycle, with communities facing higher unemployment and reduced entrepreneurial pathways years later. And let's be clear, this was deliberate. It's called the Great Reset. The Great Reset was, in my mind, the Great Ripoff. What do you think? Was it a reset of everything that was out of order and needed to be reset? Or was it a great ripoff with the capitalists deciding we're going to go in deeper on the exploitation of our population than we were before, and it was gross before? Black consumers spending blacks consumers represent around 14% of the U.S. population, yet they command above average shares of spending in categories such as hair care, skin care, personal grooming, bottled water, and certain food items. We're going to cover more of this when we talk about black spending on nails, eyelashes, and hair on Monday. And that report is extensive, very long report. And it's very devastating. In beauty and ethnic hair care in particular, black shoppers account for the majority of spending in some sub-segments, effectively shaping product design, branding, and retail strategy across the broader market. We're going to be picking that up on Monday. Top spending categories. Using U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey data for black households, The main budget categories and their approximate shares of total spending are: number one, housing, about 34 to 46% of total expenditures, depending on income level. Food, total at home and away, roughly 13 to 24%. Transportation, roughly 12 to 17%. Personal insurance and pensions, example given life insurance, retirement contributions up to around 15% for higher income black households. That's for higher income. Healthcare, between 4 and 5%. Entertainment, all forms including paid media, events, etc., around 3 to 4%. Cash contributions, charity, support to others, etc., around 2 to 5%. Apparel and services, around 3% of total spending. Education, typically around 1 to 2%. And then personal care, alcohol, tobacco, reading, and miscellaneous items that combine reading along with alcohol and tobacco together make up the remaining few percent of the budget. These broad categories represent where most Afri-Amer consumer dollars go annually. Within them, sub-markets such as ethnic hair and beauty, quick service restaurants, and certain apparel segments are especially strong for black consumers. And then as an author, I had to ask the question, what about reading? What about books? Books and reading share. The Consumer Expenditure Survey breaks out reading books, newspapers, magazines, etc., as a subcategory under entertainment for black households. In the BLS analysis, average annual spending on reading for all black households was reported at about $45 out of roughly $36,000 of total expenditures. $45 out of $36,000 of total expenditures. That explains why my income crashed after COVID. I didn't see it, but now I have the data right in my face, which corresponds to roughly 0.1 to 0.2% of total spending. Even when total spending rises with income, reading remains a very small slice, well under 1% of the black household budget. Separate research on book engagement shows that black readers who do engage with books tend to consume more titles per month than the U.S. average. But this reflects reading and borrowing behavior rather than a large shift in overall budget share. Next, I asked the question, how much does the group spend annually on food? Break it down to groceries, processed food, fast food, including restaurants, and delivered food. And it came back with the following. Afri-Amer households spend around $7,844 annually on total food, based on 2023 Consumer Expenditure Survey data for Black or Afri-Amer consumer units. This breaks down to roughly $5,093 on food at home, groceries and processed foods, and $2,751 on food away from home, fast food, restaurants, and delivery. Food at home, groceries and processed. Annual spending averages around $5,093 per household, representing the bulk of grocery purchases, including fresh produce, meats, dairy, and packaged processed items. Black households allocate a higher share to basic processed foods like cooking oils, rice, and sugar compared to whites, but lower shares to highly processed, ready to eat items. Soul food ingredients drive larger grocery baskets, averaging $79 per trip when included versus $25 otherwise. So, soul food. We pay a price for it in many ways. Food away from home. Okay, I already got that. Food away from home. Fast food, restaurants, and delivery. Total annual outlay is approximately $2,571 per household, covering quick service restaurants, full service dining, takeout, and delivery. Black consumers favor quick service restaurants like McDonald's, 18% of our spending, Wendy's, Starbucks, Popeyes, and Chipotle, with 75% choosing soul food options when dining out. They are 33% more likely than average to use online grocery delivery and in-store pickup, reflecting strong demand for convenient away from home options. 33% more likely than average to use online grocery delivery and in-store pickup. So that takes you through our numbers for today. I hope you enjoyed what we did. This is a responsibility that I take very seriously. To change it all, we first have to understand where we are and why it is unsustainable. We have to change where we are and why it is unsustainable. Excuse me, I put a lot of cayenne pepper in. It's down at the bottom of my teeth. It's unsustainable. You know it if you listen to this show regularly. But others around you, they don't know what you know. So you and I have to do a better job of teaching them. Yes, we do. We have to do a much, much better job of teaching our brothers and sisters what we need to know. We can turn it around. I'm going to wrap it up for right now, but I did pull more research about examples of cities. Let me just give you a couple paragraphs, just a little bit. We asked the question, are there successful historical or contemporary examples of communities that have effectively reversed a similar spending to production ratio? Yes, there are indeed successful examples of communities that have managed to reverse their spending to production ratios both historically and in contemporary times. These transformations usually involve a multifaceted approach encompassing economic diversification, strategic investments in local industries, supportive policy changes, and robust community engagement. Historically, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, serves as a notable success story. Once heavily reliant on the steel industry, the city faced significant economic hardship when the industry declined. Pittsburgh successfully transitioned its economy by investing in sectors like healthcare, education, and technology. This diversification led to a more balanced and resilient economy. Today, it stands as a thriving hub for these industries, demonstrating how strategic shifts can revitalize a community. Smaller towns have also found success by developing niche tourism industries, capitalizing on unique assets like natural beauty or historical significance to attract visitors and remote workers who contribute to the local economy. That brings to mind what we have talked about numerous times about rescuing Gullah Geechee lands. Gullah Geechee lands are unique tourist attractions, but they're not bringing in any tourism. And the people, the Gullah Geechee, which are the last remnants of our true African identity, the Gullah Geechee people are wonderful, wonderful people. I've had many opportunities to be in their midst. The Gullah Geechee are holding on. Even the style of their dialect is very distinctively West African. Many of the words transpose directly to the African origins of Gullah Geechee. But Afri-Amers have abandoned them. Not interested. Not interested. The future belongs to those who best prepare for that future and invest in that future today. The biggest consumer market in the world is the African Continental Free Trade Area, estimated to bring together 1.564 billion consumers, including the babies. And we could sustain that market, but we got to get in. We got to invest in that market first. And so I'm going to wrap it up. This is our Fund Drive month. I appeal to you every day for the Fund Drive. And I'm going to keep it up all this month. We're going to keep appealing to you for the Fund Drive. We have a Cash App. If you look in the bottom of your screen today, you see the streaming running at the bottom of the window. And I'm looking at the Cash App right now. And it'll come through in a second. It takes a while. I don't know why it takes so long for something to come through. But something's not working. And the more I appeal to you for support, it seems the more that you are just not responding. I do see someone today did make a Cash App contribution. I'm going to double check it right now. My phone is kind of slow. But we have in here, there's a history here. And Deborah Tyson, I see you in the house, beloved. She did make a contribution today, or within the last day. She made a contribution to the Fund Drive. And also Stray Godzilla, Brother Mark Gipp, made a contribution as well, for which I am so wonderfully grateful. And so we're going to do the best that we can to do even better for you, our listening audience. And so I want to thank you all for all you do for all of us. But the Fund Drive has got to do much better than $30 in 3 days, $40 or so in 3 days. Sister Africa for one Africa, for Africa, I should say. She made a $40 contribution a couple of days ago. The Fund Drive is going to continue All the month of December, you will be invited to become an investor in LIB Radio. And if there's things that you want in return, like you want to get access to the books and things, you just let me know. You let me know, and we're going to do the best we can to give you what you earn, and we're going to do the best we can to fulfill our mission, our purpose. At LIB Radio, we are on a mission. This is our purpose. We are committed to you because you represent our collective future. And we're going to talk about where we can invest this money and get return on investment. We talked about African economic zones last week. That's a very, very important investment. We're talking about the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is back in the news as they are striving to get a peace accord in place. That thing, Donald Trump came back from the Congo and talking about we have reached peace in the DRC. That was a lie. Just like the ceasefire in Gaza, it's a lie. It's not just him. It's the media. It's the Democrats. It's all of the distractions, the attacks that are being done against the citizens, the fishermen of Venezuela and Colombia and Trinidad and Tobago. Their citizens have been killed in these missile strikes. This is all very, very, very serious. And we love our blackness. Again, for those of you who want the good news of the day, I broke my lifetime record for push-ups. It's an individual accomplishment for which I am very proud. I would much rather break our lifetime record for raising money for LIB Radio. There's somebody out there who, despite all of the injuries that has happened across the economy, somebody out there right now who could make a substantial contribution to LIB. And I know you could. We need thousands of dollars. And we need it sooner than later. At this rate, making it through to 2026, January 3rd will be the anniversary when we will have completed 23 years of broadcasting. That's not bad at all. But getting through this next month is going to be the hardest month ever. Can we do it? Yeah, we can. If anybody wants my health related services, that's one of the important things that I do. Text me. Text me at, my text number is, let me put in my number. If you or anyone you know need help in your health and recovery from chronic disease, text me, I need help, at 702-580-0662. If anyone you know needs help for their recovery from chronic disease, text me. I need help and text me at the following number: 702 580 0662. And I will be here to get you on track. I'm 70 years old and I have no medications, zero drugs, no medications at all. Zero issues. That's the point I was trying to make. Zero issues with my own personal health. And I want you to be like me. I want you to boast and be proud and encouraging amongst all of those around you. Encourage them always. Be your best. And your best is not being sick and on drugs. Metabolic disorders overwhelming our people. And the doctors aren't even telling them. Let's talk. Let's get you out of that category. So I did put up the link there. I'm going to paste this link on my Rumble page, and then we are going to begin to wrap it up. Today's the first day I didn't even hear from anyone, not one person who's a friendly. Nobody checked in. Doesn't mean that we're not liked, but it does mean our audience is changing very dramatically, very rapidly. And we're pledging to do better. If I have somehow disappointed you or offended you, I heartily apologize. Please tell me what I did. On that note, we're out for today. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. You've been tuned into LIB Radio, LIB TV, livinginblack.com. We aim to be your favorite as we do the best we can to continue to do even better for each and every one of you on LIB Radio, LIB TV, here on livinginblack.com. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you from your brother, aka the Conscious Rasta. Peace, y'all.